Can an SUV look like a sports car? Can an electric vehicle be a V10? Can a car drive itself around a city of 25 million people entirely on its own? The AVATR 11 thinks so. That's right, this is the AVATR 11 and what a stunning car it is. I absolutely love the way this thing looks. It is amazing. But before we get to the design, first thing on your mind is, what the hell is an AVATR? Let me tell you. AVATR is a collaboration between CATL, the Chinese battery giant, Changan, one of China's largest state-owned car companies, and of course Huawei, China's massive technology company. And all of that expertise has gone into this car. Plus, as you can see, a very, very healthy dose of design work as well. It is absolutely amazing. I love the really chiseled, crisp edges you get on here, also combined with the fact that it's kind of bulbous, kind of rounded. It feels very squat, feels very compact, doesn't feel like a big car at all, and it looks very, very, well, it's totally outstanding in traffic. What I really like is big flared fenders here on the front, because when you sit behind the wheel you can see those and you really feel like you're inside a sports car. But of course it has a very distinctive face. These lights here, I wouldn't really call them boomerang shaped, I'm not sure what kind of shape that is, but these all light up with sort of slats around there, and the same in the top here, and your headlamps are lower down. Really expressive design on this car, looks amazing. Before I get onto the technology, we do have a frunk in here as well. It's a very big one, not sure on the size, but it's absolutely massive, so a lot of useful stuff in there. But let's talk about that technology. Down here, one lidar unit. Let's come around the side. Along here, another lidar unit, and on the other side, another one. 3 lidar units, all from Huawei. This car has the Huawei high car technology inside it, and that should enable this car to be able to drive around this big city of 25 million people entirely on its own, on the highway and on the city roads as well. So we're going to check that out. It's got sensors at the bottom of the doors as well, because they are electrically operated. So you pull the handle and the door opens like that. All of these doors are electrically operated, so you can do that on all of them. But yeah, very, very sleek down the side here. As you can see, we've got 22-inch alloys. These are very nice. There's also another design that looks very, very cool. But I like these. They sit right out in the corner, make the car feel very squat, compact and stylish. And of course, we've got more stuff around the back because there's some cool design features there as well. Now, the sporty elements of this car really start to come together towards the back, where it starts to look more like a sort of a mid-engine rear-wheel drive sports car. You've got your windows coming up to a point here. They accentuate the coupe-style roofline, which you can see here with these flying buttresses that you get on the back of things like Ferraris and Lamborghinis, and this letterbox-style rear window. Really looks very, very cool. You've got big flared arches here. They're very cool. A very tightly packaged rear end. It's all very sculpted and very attractive. You've got a full-width LED light bar, which sort of drips down over the end there, looks a bit sort of F-Type-esque on the side, looks very nice. And also a little bit ducktaily here as well, a little bit of hints of Aston Martin in there. We've got a rear spoiler, which you can program to come up at speed, to be on permanently or to be off. Up here, we have a camera, because we don't have a rear view mirror in this car. We have a screen that shows you the view from that camera, just like on a Hi-Fi Z or a Polestar 4. We've got some light up sort of light up strip here that I haven't actually seen light up yet, but apparently it does. And in here we've got a pretty big trunk as well. Now I can't find any details anywhere about how big this is, but you get a decent sized opening and quite a lot of usable space in there as well. Plus you can fold down the seats 40-60. I would say somewhere between 300 and 400 litres of space in my estimation. Plus you get a bit of space under there as well. So quite decent. You've also got a base unit in there, and of course electrically operated, but not with your foot. Yeah, really, really cool, distinctive, unique car. And it's pretty cool inside as well. Let's have a look. Things in here are every bit as sort of sculpted and modern as they are on the outside, starting with this. This is our emotional vortex, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know what it does. The car does have emotional recognition. Again, I don't know what it does. Maybe it makes the cabin lighting more blue to calm you down when it senses that you're angry. Not certain, haven't worked out how to really get that going. But it does look very cool, and it goes very well with this swoopy cabin with lots of curves all over it. It feels very sculpted and just feel very modern and very uplifting, particularly with this sort of light grey colour here on the lower surfaces and black on the top. It does have a really good sort of contrast to the design. Now we've got a lot of screens going on. So we have obviously the rear view mirror one that I mentioned earlier from the camera at the back. Also got two 10.25 inch screens here. That one's for your normal driving functions. This one is for videos and audio, things like that. So you can swipe on there and the passenger can look at stuff on there. And of course in the middle here we have our 15.6 inch screen, which does run on the Harmony OS operating system. That means that you get cool functionality like down here at the bottom where you can drag your temperature and your ventilation. You can also go straight in there to adjust the heating, ventilation and massage on your chairs. There's loads of different massage options on these chairs. All versions come with heated front 2 seats. The luxury version that we have comes with ventilation and massage as well. The guys in the back, they don't get any of that luxury. It's not the fastest system in the world. It doesn't come with 8155. So I don't know, I just feel like it's sometimes a little bit slow. It doesn't always register what it is that you're trying to get it to do. And that does make it feel a little bit annoying sometimes. And we do have a electric glove box somewhere in here. Where is my electric glove box? There it is. Electric glove box. And you can lock that and change it to lock with a pin, things like that, so that other people can't get in. And facial recognition too, you can also use. Elsewhere, steering wheel, we've got a fairly simple one. So we've got two sort of little balls on either side that roll up and down and push left and right. They're not as easy to push left and right as you might think, but they're very much like you would find in a Tesla. And sometimes they're a little bit fiddly. These chairs are, I would say, when they're one piece, which is quite cool. So you get microfiber up at the top and a fixed headrest. They do look very funky. Downside is they are slightly short, I would say, under your legs. So I've got a full hand width between the end of the chair and the crux of my knee. Given that it's quite a sporty car, I'd quite like to have, you know, the extending base cushion or the option to give it a little bit more tilt on the front as well, just to make me feel a bit more corseted inside. That's the only change that I'd really make with the chair. We've got nice materials. So we've got soft stuff on the top, as I said, Nappa steering wheel and Nappa chairs, and we've got nice soft materials in the doors as well. It does get a little bit less luxurious down at the bottom, so you do get plastic in your door pockets and plastic grill surround there, plastic inside, so it doesn't feel quite as luxurious at the bottom. Also, the build quality is certainly not quite as high as in some other cars. So for example, if I press this bit of the dashboard here, there's quite a lot of flex there. There's quite a lot of flex in this central tunnel too. It's not a deal breaker because you're probably going to buy this car for how it looks, but I should point out that it does just feel a little bit like that. Also, there's a piece of metal rolling around in the lid here. I'm not sure where it's come from, but that is slightly irritating as well. We do get a 50 watt wireless charger, Huawei's 50 watt wireless charger. That's nice and quick, and it's ventilated, which is great, so your phone doesn't overheat. Extra space there for another phone. Pair of cup holders in here, not the largest. Big pocket in here with USB-C and USB, and extra space under here as well for pairs of shoes or whatever. We get these sort of metal dials on the door here for adjusting your chair. They're not actually metal, I think they might be anodized metal, but they do feel a bit more premium, and they've got sort of nice little rough edges on them, which I like. Same for your window controls here. We also get 14 speakers, so there's one up there, one down there, one up there, and others all over the car. It's not a branded speaker system, but it's pretty decent, does a good job. There's also something very cool in here, which I will show you later on, but I'll point it out. We have here V6, V8, and V10. I alluded to that in the intro. I'll explain it to you when we get moving. Another funky thing I've almost forgotten, I just saw it in the corner of my eye, yellow seat belts. I like those. They were cool in the Polestar, and they're just as cool here. It's kind of a slightly limey yellow, and you get that in the stitching on the chairs as well. But again, all quite good up front. How are we looking in the back? Good news is we've got quite a lot of space in the back, even with that coupe-like roofline. Plenty of headroom up here, plenty of knee room there, and with that chair on the lowest setting, a decent amount of footroom down there as well. We also get a scream if you want to go faster handle, sculpted into the back of the front seat, which I like, and we've got a little pocket in here, which I believe you can stick an iPad mount in if you want to keep the kids entertained. You can get this car in 4 or 5 seat versions. Obviously we have the 5 seat version with the bench, but the 4 seat versions have more sculpted chairs, sort of a tunnel here, so you can electrically operate your chairs and things like that. We also got on our 5 seat version an armrest here, which is fairly short, I would say, but it's enough for your hand. You can put your phone in there, bit of pocket space in there, and twin cup holders in the middle as well. We get a USB-C socket down here for charging one of your phones. We've got googly eye vents there. It's not tri-zone climate control, but you can aim the air wherever you want it. As I mentioned, we do have electric doors in the back here. I can probably show you those. There you go. There's my electric door opening for me. If I want to close it, just press that again and that will come back in. Now, as I mentioned, we have 40/60 folding rear seats. So I need to change my position because you've got to pull the handle at the back there. As you can see, it's quite a chunky chair, so it doesn't go totally flat, but it does at least give you some more practicality in the boot there. You can also use this to adjust the angle of your rear seats, so that's more vertical. If you pull it up, you can make it a little bit more laid back. That's quite cool. And we get a headrest in the middle for your fifth occupant as well. So yeah, it's pretty spacious, pretty cool. I like it. Now, I want to be honest with you. Shanghai is not the best place for doing car reviews because you don't get to test the handling. Unlike Beijing, where you get some mountain roads nearby, you get to really test them out. Shanghai, it's pretty flat and it's full of traffic lights, which is rubbish. But for what this car has to do in the city, it's actually very good. Handling and overall ride comfort are pretty decent for a car that doesn't have the air suspension and the continuous damping control that you get in a lot of the cars these days here in China. It's quite good, and it does feel more dynamic actually. Steering's still light, of course it is, but it does feel like there's a little bit more feeling to it. It does feel certainly more attached than the Li Auto L8 did. I mean, that car has been likened to a boat because it has nice soft suspension. That's what people want here in China, but this car does feel much more dynamic, and that might be down to the fact that we've got those big wheels out in the corners. They're also pretty wide. I mean, they do contribute to a pretty lousy turning circle on this car. I don't have an exact figure, but it does feel certainly a lot bigger than some of the other cars that we have. Performance-wise, it is right up there. It is an excellent car, performance-wise. We have the dual motor version of this car. That means we get 195 kilowatts on the front axle, 230 on the rear axle, 425 in total for a pretty staggering 570 horsepower, 650 Newton meters of torque as well. So yeah, it will go like stink. If you put it into sport mode, which I will do, and you'll hear what it sounds like. And actually you feel I didn't change my acceleration then, but you could see the acceleration suddenly picked up. The feel was much more stronger on the pedal. The sport mode will give you the opportunity of 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3.98 seconds. It's pretty brutal. Certainly not quite as fast as some of the rivals who do it in 3.7, 3.8 seconds, but let me tell you, 3.98 seconds is more than fast enough, especially for what this car is going to be used for. We have road noise cancellation in our car, which does make it certainly quite quiet. I don't know if that's some kind of special system, a bit like noise cancelling earphones, that takes out some of that exterior noise. Not 100% certain. We do get a double thickness, I believe, front windshield, but the windows on the side are not double thickness. It is quiet inside until you do this. Let me just go into the system and we'll go to the car option. I'm going to pick V6. You hear that? So we're now a V6. We're not an electric car anymore. No, we are an electric car, just kidding. But we have the option to do V6, V8 and V10 sound effects in the car. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why? Why are they doing that? It's utterly stupid. But let me tell you, if you leave it on, at first it's kind of weird because it's a digital sound, right? It just sounds odd. It's like, you know. But if you leave it on, particularly the V6 or the V8, it actually does start to convince you. And like that note there, just as you got a little tiny bit of acceleration on, just starts to sit in your ear and you start to feel a little bit like you're driving a supercar. It does become convincing after 1 or 2 minutes of driving. And personally, I actually prefer having it on. It's actually quite cool. I like it. I'll show you what the V8 sounds like. This is a bit more silky, a bit deeper, a bit more bassy. Not quite as obvious. Are you ready? That's not bad, right? And V10, this is my personal favourite. I like V10. Oh, I get a nice little deep warble. You lift off, it goes, ooh. Now, the only downside is it doesn't do gear changes. So it is essentially one long acceleration. It's a V10 with one gear, which is a little bit weird. But that's really quite cool. I like it. I was driving around all day yesterday with it on. And when you're on the highway, just got that little burble in your ear. It's pretty decent. And it's better, I think, than the one they had on the Ito M5 that we tried last year. Certainly got a much better feel than that. But you want to hear me. I hope you do anyway. So I'll put this back onto mute. I'll put that back on again later when I'm driving by myself. This car comes with two choices of batteries. We have a long-range version and an extra long-range version, of course, because nobody advertises a medium or short-range battery. The long-range version, which is what we have, 90 kilowatt hours on the CLTC cycle with twin motors, that will get you 555 kilometers of range. In reality, of course, we know it's more like 65% from experience, so probably more like 330 to 340 kilometers of range. If you go to the single motor version, but you upgrade to the extra long range battery, you can get up to 705 kilometers of range on the CLTC cycle, probably more like about 520 kilometers, something like that. So it's pretty decent in terms of range, particularly for an electric car. Not only that, but we do have 240 kilowatt fast charging too. That means we can go from 0 to 80% in just 25 minutes. We also have battery preheating, which is a nice feature to have as well, because that means that we fare better in winter. And we also have 3.3 kilowatt hour vehicle to load as well. So we can also charge a TV or a barbecue or whatever you want to take with you that you need to plug in. Could even just be a pump for a paddleboard or something like that. It's certainly got you covered on that side of things. And in terms of prices, I mean, we have 5 versions of this car. There are 2 versions of the single motor version with both sizes of battery. You get 3 versions of the dual motor version, 2 with the normal battery. One of those, which is the one that we have, is the luxury version, which means that you get the Napa leather and a few extra cool features. So yeah, overall, it's a pretty decent car. The base version, that's the normal battery with the single motor, starts at 319,900 RMB. For context, that's about £37,000, so a pretty decent price. I don't believe the prices have been dropped in the price war, so we're doing okay there. The most expensive version, which is dual motor with the long range battery, that will set you back 409,900 RMB, so probably more like about 48 to 49,000 pounds, something like that. Again, pretty decent price. Now when it comes to dimensions, this is quite interesting because this car is very similar in dimensions, not that it looks it, but it's very similar in dimensions to a Mercedes-Benz GLE Coupe. So it's 4.89 meters long, 1.97 meters wide, and just a smidge over 1.6 meters tall. But it's the wheelbase that makes the real difference, because this one has a wheelbase of 2.975 meters compared to 2.91 meters in the GLE Coupe, which means that we get about 6.5 extra centimeters between the wheels, which gives us a much more spacious cabin in the back. Now, as I mentioned before, we have quite a lot of tech in this car, and that's what I want to test out. We have 3 major things. We have AVATR, which is the computer in the car, the high performance computer. We have AVATR, which is the sensor package, the lidar and all the millimeter wave radars and HD cameras and so on. We also have AVATRANS, which is intelligent navigation and parking. And to find out how those systems worked, check out the links at the end of the video. Okay, so that's it for our review of the AVATR 11, and honestly, it's probably my favourite car of all the cars that I've driven on this channel. Not because it's the best handling, that's the Polestar 2, not because it's the best overall car, that's the Li Auto L8, but because of the design, because of the sense of drama and occasion that this car brings. I mean, there's nothing else that looks like this on the road. It's got a design, character, all of its own. AVATR's designers have done an amazing job with this, and I love it for that. I love the drama as well that it brings inside. I think also what I kind of like is the fact that it does have floors. We do fall in love with things that have flaws, and this one does. It's, you know, build quality is a little bit questionable in places, the system's a little bit slow, the driving position isn't exactly perfect, but I love what it brings. And that tech, the Huawei tech, the high car, the NCA system, probably, I think it's the best one that I have tried so far in terms of autonomous driving, both in the city and on the highway. Works really well, feels very stable. It's a very fast car, looks amazing. I absolutely love it, and I hope that you guys get the chance to see it where you are too and try it out for yourselves. Thank you for watching, and if you do, thank you for subscribing, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.